Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm so thrilled you're joining me today because we're looking at some absolutely vital source material that takes a hard look at something we usually completely ignore, our evening routines. We spend so much time obsessing over what we do during the day to stay healthy, right? What we eat for lunch, getting our 10,000 steps in, but we often completely forget about what happens when the sun actually goes down. Well, today we're doing a deep dive to change that.
Have you ever gone to bed thinking everything was totally fine, only to hear the next day that someone never woke up? It's a pretty jarring thought, straight from our sources today, but it happens way more often than most people realize. The scary reality is that a huge number of heart attacks and strokes actually hit during the night or in those super early morning hours. And the kicker? In a lot of cases, it's due to these unrecognized, simple evening habits that millions of us do every single night, silently increasing our risk.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to do a sort of chronological evening audit together. First up, the silent nighttime threat. Second, the late dinner danger. Third, sleep, stress, and screens. Fourth, medication and alcohol mistakes. Fifth, never ignore warning signs. And finally, number 6, a heart-healthy night routine. All right, section 1, the silent nighttime threat. Why sleep isn't always restful. So there's this massive myth out there that our bodies, and specifically our hearts, just kind of power down and get a total break while we sleep. But the source material makes it absolutely crystal clear. Your heart and your blood vessels are putting in the work all night long. Sleep is a totally different kind of activity, but it's definitely not a pause button. And this brilliantly illustrates why we really need to pay attention to this right now. In our 30s and 40s, our physical resilience is pretty incredible. Bad evening habits seem totally harmless and forgiving because our younger bodies just absorb the impact. But as we transition into our 60s, 70s, and beyond, our bodies become way less forgiving. Those exact same evening habits silently crank up our cardiovascular risk and become significantly more dangerous. Essentially, what worked for you at 35 could literally be hurting you at 65. Section 2, the late dinner danger. Digestion versus rest. Which brings us to the very first major chronological mistake of our evening audit, sitting down to a massive, heavy dinner right before trying to go to sleep. Look, I get it, we're all incredibly busy during the day, so dinner time naturally gets pushed later and later. But if you skip giving your body that crucial 2 to 3 hours of digestion time and jump straight into bed, you're basically setting up a conflict in your body. When you force your body to digest heavy food right at bedtime, it spikes your blood pressure and your blood sugar. So instead of resting, you're throwing extra stress onto your heart right when it desperately needs to recover. The goal here is to stretch this timeline out, really separate your dinner time from your bedtime. But here's the surprising part. Food isn't the only issue here. As we move deeper into our nighttime routine, it turns out that what we do in that crucial hour right before turning off the lights matters just as much as what was on our dinner plates. Section 3, sleep, stress, and screens. The unseen bedtime strain. This phase of the evening is all about how poor sleep quality and our pre-bed mental habits directly mess with our cardiovascular health. The sources outline some pretty severe consequences of disrupted sleep. When your sleep is poor night after night, your body holds on to elevated stress hormones, your blood pressure stays high, inflammation shoots up, and your heart basically suffers from inadequate recovery time. If you're frequently waking up exhausted, if you've got heavy snoring going on, or if you ever find yourself gasping during sleep, listen, these aren't just quirky, annoying things. These are major blaring red flags that your heart just isn't getting the restorative downtime it needs. And a huge contributor to that terrible sleep is pre-bed stress. We're talking about scrolling through stressful news or just laying there worrying before bed. That keeps your entire body in a state of high alert. It elevates your heart rate and completely blocks your nervous system from relaxing. I mean, stress doesn't just magically vanish because you flicked off the light switch, right? If your mind is racing, your nervous system is essentially wide awake. So instead of doom scrolling, the sources highly suggest picking up a relaxing book, putting on some calm music, or just practicing some deep breathing and gratitude to help your body actually wind down. Moving right along to Section 4, medication and alcohol mistakes, chemical imbalances at night. Let's shift our focus over to the bedside table for a minute. Here, we need to tackle 2 massive habits that older adults often get wrong right before turning out the lamp. Let's look at the first one,
medication errors. You might be tempted to skip a dose just because you're feeling totally fine today. Or on the flip side, you might double up because you honestly forgot if you took your pills earlier. So the crucial point here is that both of these medication errors are incredibly risky. Missing or doubling doses for things like blood pressure, heart rhythm, diabetes, or cholesterol causes these unexpected, really dangerous spikes in your blood pressure or blood sugar. Remember, many heart attacks happen after years of uncontrolled risk factors quietly damaging blood vessels. Consistency really is your absolute best defense.
The second bedside mistake is the classic nightcap. Sure, alcohol might make you feel a bit sleepy initially, but it severely disrupts your sleep quality later in the night. Having a few too many before bed can lead to dehydration, terrible sleep patterns, and even irregular heart rhythms. And for anyone with an existing heart condition, this combo is particularly problematic. Moderation is key here, and honestly, it's for sure something you should bring up with your doctor.
Section 5. Never ignore warning signs. The danger of waiting until morning.
Now, we are entering the absolute most critical phase of our evening audit. This is all about what happens in the middle of the night if sudden physical symptoms actually strike. I really need you to internalize these signals: unusual shortness of breath, chest discomfort, sudden dizziness, unexplained fatigue, weakness on one side, or difficulty speaking. I have to firmly state what the sources emphasize here. Convincing yourself to just wait until morning is literally the most dangerous choice you can make. Sometimes the body sends these subtle warning signals before a massive, serious event occurs. Acting quickly is what saves heart muscle, protects brain tissue, and dramatically improves outcomes. Seriously, if you feel these, do not wait. Seek medical attention immediately.
Section 6. A heart-healthy night routine. Changing the narrative.
All right, let's transition from the risks to the solutions, because it's time to bring some empowering, positive energy to our explainer. You have so much control over this. Now, what's really interesting here is how straightforward these adjustments actually are. Let's look at the 6 actionable steps we've uncovered. Step 1, keep those meals lighter and earlier. Step 2, aim for consistent sleep. Step 3, reduce pre-bed stress. Step 4, take your medications exactly as prescribed. Step 5, limit alcohol. And step 6, pay close attention to any symptoms. These simple habits might not seem like game changers on their own, but making these small daily choices provides a powerful, compounding impact on your cardiovascular health over time. It doesn't require perfection at all. It just requires awareness. So if you're hitting 50, this is definitely for you. But honestly, it doesn't matter if you're 55, 65, 75, or way beyond. The incredible truth from the research is that it is absolutely never too late to start benefiting from these positive changes. Your heart and your brain are going to thank you for the consistency you apply, starting tonight. Before we wrap up, I do need to share this mandatory but super important quote from our sources. This explainer is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider. Please always have an open, honest conversation with your doctor before making any major changes to your diet, exercise routine, or medications. They really are your absolute best partner in health. Which brings us to our final question for you today. Which nighttime habit are you going to change first? Whether it's putting that smartphone away an hour earlier, maybe eating dinner just a bit sooner, or finally actually practicing some deep breathing before your head hits the pillow, pick just one thing and start tonight. Thank you so much for learning with us on this explainer today. Protect your heart, stay safe, sleep well, and I'll see you next time.